It's official. Disney just pressed the panic button. After a catastrophic $300 million disaster, a PR nightmare that seemed to never end, and a fan revolt that turned into a full-blown meme movement, the studio has confirmed what we all saw coming. They're scrapping Rachel Zegler's Snow White. Gone, buried, never to be spoken of again. Unless it's in cautionary tales told in executive meetings and film school classes titled How Not to Reboot a Classic. Before we dive into one of the most bizarre and chilling mysteries to ever hit Hollywood, make sure to subscribe if you love deep dives into unsolved cases, hidden truths, and shocking celebrity mysteries. Trust me, this one is going to leave you speechless. Disney has announced a full reboot of Snow White, and let's just say, it is not being subtle about the fact that this is a do-over, a clean slate, a total reset after the first try went down like the Titanic in slow motion. And while fans are cautiously optimistic, one person is reportedly not taking the news well: Rachel Zegler herself. Because in the blink of a press release, she didn't just lose a job, she lost a legacy, or at least, whatever legacy was left after the dust settled on that doomed meme-fueled flop of a fairy tale. Zegler reacts. The meltdown heard round the internet. The reboot announcement was barely live when insiders started leaking that Zegler, who has remained mostly radio silent since the backlash peaked, was not informed ahead of time. One source close to the actress claims she found out at the same time the rest of the world did, sparking what they described as a private but explosive response. Shocked and betrayed were the words floating around social media. Another insider said she felt humiliated by the way Disney discarded her without a single public acknowledgement. And while her reps haven't issued a formal statement, it didn't take long for Twitter to light up with cryptic subtweets, unfollows, and a rapid purge of any past Disney content from her Instagram highlights. Zegler knows the game, and Disney just played her hard. A new direction Disney tries to save the crown jewel, make no mistake. This isn't just another reboot, this is damage control on a billion-dollar scale. Snow White isn't just a character, she's the character, the first ever Disney princess, the start of the magic. And the fact that Disney let that legacy spiral into a cultural meltdown over modern reimaginings and disconnected messaging wasn't just a mistake, it was brand vandalism. Now they're going back to basics. Hard. According to the official announcement, the new creative direction will return to the emotional heart and visual splendor of the 1937 original. Think Enchanted Forest, old-school orchestration, hand-drawn inspiration brought to life with modern polish, but no preachy monologues, no subversion for the sake of headlines, and no random CGI creatures in place of the dwarfs. They want to bring back charm, magic, and sincerity, because apparently someone at the top finally realized that's what audiences came for in the first place. Out with the old team. Also gone, pretty much everyone from the previous creative team. Writers, directors, producers. Disney's not just replacing the actress, they're tossing out the entire team that steered the ship off the cliff. The new team, led by a set of filmmakers known for visual storytelling and emotional depth, names to be announced at D23, is said to be focused on building a story that feels timeless with touches of today, instead of forcing today down everyone's throat with a magic wand. This isn't about erasing progress, it's about remembering how to tell a good story first, and considering how Snow White 2025 became a symbol of overreach, overcorrection, and overconfidence. Maybe humility is what Disney needed most. The internet reacts. Fans reclaim the magic. The fan response to the reboot. Honestly, it's the first time in years people have sounded hopeful about a remake. Please just make her sing again, one commenter wrote. Another said, if she doesn't talk to birds and bite an apple, we riot. It's not that people don't want change, it's that they want magic that feels like Disney again. Nostalgia is a tool, but only when you use it with respect. What fans hated about the Zegler version wasn't the updates, it was the attitude that came with them. The weird insistence that the original story was something to fix, not something to honor. Disney's finally listening, and it only took a total public implosion to get there. Zegler's legacy now tied to a failure. Whether she likes it or not, Rachel Zegler's name is now inseparable from one of the most notorious flops in Disney's history. And it's not just about box office numbers, it's about the fact that the moment she opened her mouth in that first viral interview, the internet decided she wasn't Snow White, not because of her background, not because of her politics, but because she rejected the story she was supposed to represent. You don't have to be Snow White, But you do have to believe in her. And Zegler never did. That's the tragic irony. She was cast to embody magic, and she treated it like it was cringe. The real takeaway: Disney is scared again. The fact that Disney made this announcement now, after months of pretending the backlash didn't matter, tells us something very important. They're scared. For years they've coasted on brand recognition, pumped out live-action reboots like factory products, played it safe with focus group feminism and boardroom bravery. But Snow White was the wake-up call. When audiences don't show up, and when your entire online presence becomes a meme, it gets hard to keep pretending you're still the Magic Kingdom. And with The Little Mermaid barely breaking even, Peter Pan and Wendy forgotten within a week, and now Snow White buried 6 feet under, the formula is broken. This reboot isn't just a second chance, it's Disney fighting for its soul. What's next for Rachel Zegler? That's the question hanging in the air. Where does she go from here? Can she rebound? Can she rebuild a career that's been so publicly tied to controversy? Hollywood has a short memory, but it's also brutal, and when you become the face of one of the most ridiculed films of the decade, doors close quietly, projects move on, names disappear from call sheets, the Dubai trip, the deleted posts, the silence. It all paints a picture of someone who knows what's happening and can't stop it. Unless Zegler mounts a massive PR comeback and fast, her future is not in leading roles, at least not for now. Final thoughts. Sometimes you just need to start over. Sometimes the only way to fix something is to admit you broke it. And with this reboot, Disney's doing exactly that. They're admitting that Snow White was not bold and brave. It was tone-deaf, messy, and completely out of touch with the thing that makes fairy tales timeless. The new version will have to earn trust again, but at least now it finally has a chance. Because this Snow White, she might just believe in happily ever after. The reboot heard round the world, and straight into Rachel Zegler's phone. If you listen closely the day Disney dropped the reboot announcement, you could hear a faint, distant cracking sound. That was the sound of Rachel Zegler's phone hitting a hotel wall in Dubai. Because while Disney's PR team was issuing carefully worded statements about reimagining with care and returning to classic roots, insiders say Zegler was finding out in real time, scrolling, panicking, and realizing she'd just been publicly and irreversibly replaced. And not just replaced, erased. This wasn't a simple "we're going in a new direction." This was a studio-wide exorcism of everything tied to the original reboot: the cast, the tone, the story, and most of all, her. And if you think Zegler took that lightly, think again. An Instagram purge, and a silent scream hours after the reboot announcement dropped. Fans noticed Zegler began scrubbing her social media like it was a crime scene. Old Snow White photos, gone. Fan art reposts, deleted. Behind-the-scenes clips, vanished. It wasn't subtle, it was surgical. And then the passive-aggressive stories began. Black backgrounds, cryptic quotes about loyalty, and being used. One said, "Watch who applauds when you fall," which, considering she just lost the most iconic Disney role of all time, felt less like poetry and more like a full-blown meltdown typed through gritted teeth. Disney's quiet retaliation campaign begins. Meanwhile, back in Burbank, Disney was doing the one thing it does best when a public figure becomes inconvenient: systematically scrubbing her from the brand. Insiders report that within 48 hours of the reboot announcement, internal Snow White merchandise guides were updated to remove Zegler's likeness. All promotional material containing her image was pulled from international rollouts. Future Disney Plus thumbnails for the 2025 Snow White film will reportedly feature an animated apple and a tree, not the actress, not even her voice. Translation: you've been Thanos snapped out of the vault, and you know what? For once the fans are cheering. Other actors react, and the shade is real. Here's where it gets juicier. Zegler may have gone quiet, but other actors, oh, they're watching, and they're talking. One prominent Disney voice actress reportedly told a podcast, "Respect the role or don't take the crown. It's not complicated." Another MCU alum liked a tweet that read, "This is what happens when you get the role of a lifetime and treat it like a TED Talk." The theater kid turned global superstar narrative over. This is now the face of a billion-dollar blunder story, and the industry is making sure no one forgets it. Bob Iger's desperate damage control mode. Now let's talk about Bob Iger, who at this point is probably sleeping under his desk. Sources say the internal chaos at Disney is unprecedented, not just because of the box office loss, but because Zegler's fallout has torched the studio's cultural credibility. This reboot isn't being positioned as a sequel or a sister story. It's a full-on studio mea culpa. They're not just admitting they failed, they're dragging the old project into a shallow grave and burying it with a commemorative shovel. Even the casting brief leaked online says the new Snow White must believe in magic, innocence, and sincerity. Gee, I wonder who that's a dig at. The writer's room bloodbath. Let's not forget, this wasn't just a Rachel Zegler problem, this was a top-to-bottom creative implosion. Word is Disney has fired everyone tied to the original remake script, calling it tonally incoherent, overcorrected, and philosophically detached from the brand. One executive reportedly called it a film about Snow White that hated the idea of Snow White. Ouch. Now a new team, one with serious fairy tale chops, is being brought in to restore the story's emotional heartbeat. That means the dwarfs are back, the romance is back, the singing animals are back, and Rachel Zegler, not even a whisper of her remains. The recast watch has begun. Of course, with a new film comes a new Snow White, and the internet has officially entered full-blown speculation meltdown mode. Names like Jenna Ortega, Florence Pugh, and even relative newcomers are being thrown around like enchanted apples. But there's one very clear requirement, being whispered across Hollywood: she has to respect the role. Studios want someone who can act, sing, promote, and most importantly, not detonate $1 million marketing campaign with one snarky interview. Rachel Zegler's Scorched Earth press tour changed the game. Now Disney doesn't just want a star, they want a safe pair of hands. Fan campaigns flood the internet. As soon as the reboot news hit, something wild happened. Actual fans started organizing, sharing petitions, posting fan art, making wish lists. They've been holding their breath for years, waiting for Disney to finally course correct, and now that it's happening, they're louder than ever. One Twitter user wrote, "We want birds, we want dwarfs, we want love, not lectures." Another said, "Let this be a reminder. Fairy tales don't need fixing, they need feeling." And you know what? They're absolutely right. Zegler's PR team reportedly in panic mode. Meanwhile, back in the bunker, Zegler's team is said to be in full rebrand crisis mode. Rumors suggest they've hired 2 new PR firms to manage what's being referred to internally as the Princess Recovery Plan. Among the strategies on the table, a Vanity Fair interview framing her as a misunderstood artist, a pivot to Broadway to reconnect with her roots, a temporary social media freeze to cool the heat. But let's be real, this isn't just smoke, this is scorched earth, and short of a full-scale apology tour and a surprise Oscar-worthy performance, it's going to take a lot more than carefully lit selfies to rebuild the trust she burned. This isn't just a reboot, it's a warning shot. What we're witnessing here isn't just a redo, it's an industry reset. Disney just admitted, in front of the entire world, that not all reimaginings are worth defending. That sometimes, in chasing modernity, you lose the magic. That when you let the story go, the audience goes with it. And Rachel Zegler, she's now a permanent footnote in that lesson. The princess who had it all, and lost it in record time. Let us know in the comments. Are you excited for the new version? Should Disney cast a completely unknown actress? And do you think Rachel Zegler deserved to be dropped? Subscribe for more Hollywood meltdowns, redemption arcs, and behind-the-scenes chaos. This story's just getting started.